Hey guys, Edgar here, Guns for Everyone. Another video about the sciencey shit. I want to talk about the amygdala again, the hippocampus, the thalamus, the limbic system, all combined. Today, more so in regards to your stimulus response pattern. If you haven't seen, before I move any further, if you haven't seen the other video about the limbic system, I encourage you guys on this YouTube channel, go find that video about the limbic system, or just plain and simple, go study the limbic system, go see what it's all about, how it relates to fight or flight. Many of the videos that you're going to find from outside sources are going to be in relation to emotions and how you deal with day-to-day life and that type of stuff. But it still affects the way we defend ourselves. It still affects the way we train. There are some studies and that exist that have everything to do with self-defense, martial arts, that type of stuff. But understand, when you look at the limbic system, primarily you're going to find studies as it relates to your everyday life, because that's what happens on the day-to-day basis. Having to defend yourself is not something that happens on a day-to-day basis, and universities really don't look at the self-defense aspect as much, but it does exist, and I encourage you guys to go check that out. So we look at this, and we look at the limbic system as it relates to self-defense, right? And today I wanted to talk about the limbic system, your brain, and kind of, to a certain degree, quote unquote, muscle memory. A muscle memory is a very complex chemical relationship between your brain and the rest of your body. It's not as simple as just building muscle memory, but it's still how the limbic system reacts and responds to certain actions. So I really want to talk about and focus more on your stimulus response pattern, and why it's important for you guys to think about the stimulus response pattern. Most humans who own guns will go to the range and will do things at the range, right? Like go stand in a static line and see a piece of paper and shoot that piece of paper, and that's great. That's good hobby shooting, but nothing in that process actually told your brain when to go and when to stop. There was nothing that was surprising. There was no information processing. And one thing we must understand is that when we're in a situation, shit hits the fan type situation, we are processing information. It is more non cognitive information processing, but your brain is still receiving alerts, and the amygdala is still receiving information, and the thalamus is communicating with the amygdala, and the hippocampus is communicating with the rest of the limbic system. And a lot of the times you're making sympathetic movements based off of the information that you're receiving. So what we ought to do at the range, and what we should do at the range, is incorporate the automatic, the stuff that you cannot control, with the automated, the stuff that you train for, the what most people would say is quote unquote muscle memory. It's again much more complex than just saying words and buzzwords, but that's essentially it. We're trying to take the stuff I cannot control, whether it be the bad guy, whether it be a malfunction, whether it be a reload, or any of that stuff, and incorporate the response to it. Most humans will go to the range and they will on purpose create the situation. They will on purpose load their magazine up with dummy rounds, and now they already know that this is going to happen. So now you're anticipating it to happen. You're expecting it to happen. And the truth is that in real life, we're not expecting any of this to happen. Shit, if I knew it was going to happen, I wouldn't have shown up. If I knew I was going to have to shoot somebody in self-defense, and my gun was going to malfunction while I'm having to shoot somebody in self-defense, I would have chosen to stay home. So I didn't know it was going to happen. So we have to also do this in the most correct way that we possibly can. Isaac sent me a video. If you haven't seen his videos, go check them out. Guns for Everyone Isaac. Guns for Everyone Isaac. You can find him on Instagram, and you can find him on the YouTubes. But he sent me this video, and it got me thinking about this stuff. It got me thinking about. Let me kind of just put it up here, about the stimulus response pattern. So this is a cop kind of gets ambushed in this shooting to a certain degree. I don't think you're going to be able to hear it. That's fine if you guys can't hear it. Let me change the view here a little bit. Let's do it this way. Yeah, there we go. Um, you don't need to hear it if you don't. If you can find it yourself, it's up here. So if you guys wanted to hear it, shotgun or um, I think it was a shotgun, but I couldn't see. Maybe it was an AR. That's irrelevant, I guess. Comes out with the long gun. Well, and if you notice, the cop's first reaction wasn't draw gun, start shoot. His first reaction was that sympathetic movement of let's get the fuck out of the X, quote unquote, the X. Let's get the fuck away from this. So that's a very interesting to kind of thing to think about. Is these are humans that I bet you if I see him training at the range, they're probably gonna have a timer, and they're so used to it, but they've never incorporated the automatic with the automated. Right now, his body's in the automatic. Oh shit! It's a reaction to a threat. So his limbic system is saying in the lizard brain, saying "Get the fuck out the way," in spite of his training to a certain degree. But this is the part that I really wanted you to see. So that struggle right there, that absolute struggle with something as simple as a malfunction is mostly because of the bad way of training it at the range. I don't know, to be honest with you. I just seen the video and I just shared it. I try and avoid as best as I can showing videos like this. There's a lot of people on the internet that show videos and they talk about the videos and the problem with that is the cherry picking or the accusation of cherry picking to fit your narrative. So I try and avoid it as much as I can. But in this particular case, it's a prime example of a human training to diagnose a malfunction and looking at it while getting shot at. And your brain is somewhere else. He grabs the gun. It's a malfunction. You see the malfunction, that your firearm's not cycling, or it's the perception of not cycling properly. A to a degree, a complex reload would have corrected it. I'm gonna up here. I'm gonna show a thing that you guys should look at for malfunctions. This video really isn't talking about malfunctions, but this right here. Let me swap it again. If you guys Google non-diagnostic or YouTube non-diagnostic linear malfunctions, there's two great videos out there. I think two of them by Rob Pincus. Go check that out. And then the other one is on the 10x Defense TV YouTube channel. That is Mike DeSargo, who does that. So there's no reason for me to make the video, and maybe we will make the video, but go check that out in terms of malfunctions. The point of me bringing it up is because at the range, you ought to be establishing a stimulus and a response to that, so you don't have to think about it. You don't have to process that information, and your lizard brain kind of takes over and does it. Same way that when you're in a or about to get into a car crash, you're going to slam on the brakes. It's going to happen, but you don't have to think about it. Your body already knows. Oh shit, there is a stimulus, and my response to that stimulus is slam on the fucking brake, press that pedal, so that we don't die. PDN, Personal Defense Network. Once again, I'm gonna share this shit with you guys. Personal Defense Network. The homie Clint Macro has a really good article about stimulus response patterns. Really good article about that. And this is something that we talk about in our program. This is something that intuitive defensive shooting talks about, combat focused shooting talks about. And when you go to the range, we encourage you guys, incorporate that startle. That startle is it looks silly, and we get a lot of resistance from it. but it's this very basic lowering of the center of gravity. Hands come up protectively, and then you face the stimulus. And usually, your hands come up protectively in the direction of the stimulus. If you guys go look at the pranks where people get scared and that type of stuff, you will see them lowering their center of gravity, and they move away from the bushman or whoever's scaring them. And of course, this is 9 out of 10 times. This is the majority of the times. So you incorporate that startle response. Once you look and you're like, oh shit, that is a bad guy. Then if it's appropriate at the range, it's always going to be appropriate, right? But if it's appropriate, grab your gun, grip the gun, unholster, draw the gun, grab the gun from the drawer, the quick access safe, whatever it might be, and then defend yourself. As it notes here, when you press the trigger, if the gun was supposed to shoot but it doesn't shoot, um, then you initiate the reseat magazine, rack overhand, and you continue firing if it's necessary. If you get the perception of slide lock, which is what that officer had, he had that slide lock, you initiate a reload. Sometimes you initiate a reload and the magazine doesn't drop. Oh, fuck, that's a malfunction. Now I'm going to strip the magazine, clear it 3 times, insert that magazine, the new magazine or the one existing one, insert that magazine, chamber another round. And if I need to, continue fighting. If the attacker stops attacking, you stop attacking. So you incorporate the very small. So these are all just examples, of course, but you incorporate. And by the way, I encourage you guys to go read this. Again, The Secret Kung Fu of Stimulus Response Pattern. It's on Personal Defense Network. It's by the homie Clint Macro. There's plenty of studies on this as well, from not a defensive side, from other sources. So you're welcome to go study that on your own. But the idea here is, don't just go to the range, extend your gun out, go pew 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 pew, and then, oh, life is great. That's not how the brain works. That's not how self-defense works in any way, shape, or form. You have to incorporate the automatic and the automated. If we go back to the article, another way of kind of looking at this, I should have just kept it up. The other way to kind of look at this is everything on the left, everything here on the left is stuff you cannot control. It's going to happen whether you like it or not, because of circumstances, because of conditions, because of dust in your gun, rain. You put your hand over the gun too much, you were falling and then you shot, whatever the case may be, right? You weren't expecting this to happen and it happened. This is all stuff that you cannot control. And the stuff on the right, it's stuff that we're incorporating, we're automating. This is automatic, or stuff you cannot control. The stuff on the right hand side is stuff that you can train for. This way, when it happens, when that stimulus happens, you just respond to it without thinking about it, without having to diagnose it, without having to look at your gun. There's many reasons why you don't want to look at your gun. Proprioception is one of them, and tachypsychia is another one. We'll touch on those in a separate video. Tachypsychia, proprioception. You guys can go look that up right now, but I will talk about it in a separate video. So the main purpose of this video is to, again, remind you, you have a limbic system. You cannot control what that limbic system does to a large extent, especially if you weren't ready for something, when something's surprising, when something is out of the normal. The best we can do is try and set up some automated stuff. I had this conversation with friend Rob Pincus. I'm going to set some of his videos down below, and Mike DeSargo, about this. And one of the things that Rob responded to, we were talking about prediction error. And one of the things that he sent back when he replied, and I think it's very important in this context, Rob Pincus, if you guys don't know him, in my opinion, probably the best instructor in the entire world, mentor of mine, friend of mine. I like to bounce back ideas and stuff like that with him. He's created curriculums for a number of organizations. He's just been around for a while because he's old. And one of the things he responded in our conversation, he says, I think the main way it is important to think about problems with what I would call non-cognitive prediction is the conditioning that often happens in a repetitive practice or quote unquote learning environment, People unknowingly tying their performance of skills directly to range stimulus as opposed to processing of real information that could show up in a defensive gun use. Classic example, putting dummy rounds in your magazine when you are quote unquote practicing malfunction response. People are anticipating the problem at a very high level, actually expecting it while supposedly practicing to apply the solution. Even worse, putting one round in the gun to practice, again, quote unquote, reload response. And that's kind of a problem that happens a lot this is not processing information. If you set up your magazine for a malfunction, you know it's going to happen, you're expecting it to happen, so therefore your brain really isn't doing the stimulus response. You knew it was going to happen. I anticipated it, I expected it to happen. So when you're at the range, have somebody else load your magazines, have somebody else do it. That way, when it does happen, we're still in a controlled environment. Like it's still a racetrack. It's still make believe to a certain degree, and we have to accept it, but we have to make it as realistic as possible in the context. Having somebody else do it for you, set it up for you. That way, for you, it happens unexpectedly. The dangers is that sometimes you know what the malfunction is and you don't respond to it the way you should. Instead, you're trying to use your high level brain to solve a solution that your lizard brain is probably not going to be able to do. Case in point, that cop that we just seen, where his high level brain isn't working. So he's looking at the gun and his lizard brain's like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this. And he struggles with that because at the range, he looked at it. So his brain, his lizard brain says, when shit fucks up, just look at the shit. But now you're trying to incorporate the high level brain with the lizard brain, and it doesn't work as well. If you just tell your lizard brain, if shit goes click or doesn't shoot, but it should shoot, reseat magazine rack. I don't have to think about that. I don't have to diagnose. If the gun feels, I feel the difference in cycling, and it feels like it didn't cycle, that's your classic reload. That's the number one reason why a gun would not fully cycle. I need to reload my gun. Sometimes it's not a reload, it's a malfunction, but it feels the same way. Your lizard brain just should just reload. And if the magazine doesn't fall, your lizard brain should be able to be like, ah, fuck, that strip the magazine, save the mag, drop the mag, clear, 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 insert new mag or the same mag, chamber another round. Again, for the malfunction, go to non-diagnostic linear malfunction drills. Mike DeSargo and Pincus have two good videos about that shit. Go check that shit out. We might make one ourselves, but encourage you guys to start thinking differently about how you do things at the range. Don't do the cool shit. Looking at your gun again, tachypsychia, proprioception. I'll make a video about that, but these are two reasons why you don't need to look at your gun, and you shouldn't look at your gun to diagnose shit when you need to be paying attention to your partner getting shot or the bad guy actively attacking another human being or whatever the case may be. Your lizard brain, your automated should be clearing the malfunction while you're able to process information elsewhere. You can do that shit. You just need to practice for it. So I encourage you guys to start looking at the stimulus and response. Study that. Feel free to comment, ask questions. I encourage you guys to go study it from a neurological perspective, right? Because this is neuroscience. This isn't just Edgar fucking saying shit on the internet. This is well documented, well studied shit that happens in your daily driving, that happens at your job. Everything you do has a stimulus and a response to that stimulus. If you're married, right, like your fucking significant other causes a stimulus and your response to that stimulus. This is everyday shit. We just have to take what happens in our brain, in our DNA, that's been there for 300,000 years, and incorporate that into modern tools like a firearm, like a handgun. This shit's there. Go study it somewhere else. I know I'm giving you the information, but I would hope that I'm probably just sparking that interest for you to learn somewhere else, not necessarily learn for me everything, because I can't make an hour long video. Shit, 20 minutes in, and it's already a long fucking video. So go study this. Go learn from people who are in neuroscience. Go look up the studies, so you don't think, oh, it's just his opinion. No, this is not my opinion. This is what the fuck happens. This is how it is. I appreciate you guys. 20 minutes in, still here, probably, hopefully, fingers crossed. Go check out Personal Defense Network, the stimulus response, the homie Clint Macro. He has that. Go YouTube Non-Diagnostic linear malfunction drills. Mike DeSargo, Rob Pincus. The other one that is good for you guys to go look at, or the other thing it's good for you guys to go look at, is when cops get ambushed or when humans get ambushed, that type of stuff. We have to separate the videos where it's offensive and defensive, right? We do defensive stuff. Humans do defensive stuff. We don't do offensive stuff because that would make you a fucking criminal and a murderer. So look at the stuff when it's defensive, and you will see a lot of the shit that we're talking about, a lot of the natural shit, the neutral shit, the stimulus and the response patterns, or the lack thereof. You'll see them fucking up a lot because they did the cool shit, they did the timer bullshit, or they did the fucking LARPing instead of doing shit that is based off of neuroscience and the way the limbic system works. So we didn't talk a shit ton exactly about the limbic system, but I encourage you. This is all related. This is all a relationship in the limbic system. Go check that shit out. Go study it. I appreciate you guys. Go check out Isaac's video. Hopefully we see you at the range sometime. Quit being lazy. If I can go train, go do all that stuff. Share the video, talk about it, do all that shit.